Now, we have completed our discussion of sutras that give the name Pragrihya, and we will now look at Sannyasa Sutra and some Paribhasha Sutras. It's also a moment which causes me to reflect on the what I decide to elaborate on in terms of the meaning and the backstory of the sutras. And I think it's partly that some of them I find extremely fascinating, but hopefully also that these are moments when the backstory or more detailed understanding of the sutras is important to understanding the grammar as a whole, and will be useful as we go along. So, for instance, idu tau cha saptamyarte, idu tau cha saptamyarte. Now, when I was first taught that, and taught out loud, of course, without whiteboards, blackboards, or texts, I didn't question it or delve into it, but it caught my interest a little bit. What does that mean to have the meaning of saptami in the Veda in place of the normal, what we think of as normal sup endings? But that's kind of as far as it went. This time around, as I try to present on video, and that's without a chance to go back and forth and so on with people, it felt important and interesting to me, at least, to go significantly farther with that and look into the whole category of sounds that were used in place of sup in the Veda. At least that's how Panini conceptualizes it. Just free for nothing, I have begun to be a little bit curious about, in a sense, whether Panini is reverse engineering the Vedas so that they correspond to his grammatical structure, and so everything works. The Vedas, of course, are all grammatical. They could not be otherwise, and his grammar accounts for them along with his current usage. In any event, there are these that I find interesting and substantially useful. And now the next sutra that we're going to look at, Naveti Vibhasha. Naveti Vibhasha is a little bit of a counterexample. And the meaning is very straightforward. We'll come to that in just a minute. And there are, of course, highways and byways that we could go into, but at least as far as I can see, I don't see the value in diving very deeply, although I'll touch on a couple of the questions. So, Naveti Vibhasha. Naveti Vibhasha. So, na va iti vibhasha. Na va iti vibhasha. So, na prohibition, va iti, na va iti, taken as one term and as a quotation, as is shown by the use of iti. So it's very explicit. We're talking about nava as a single entity. So na va thus is called vibhasha. So not to belabor the translation, we can say prohibition taking along with option, taken together, as we know by the iti, are called vibhasha. So, okay, so that's kind of no big deal. And but again, it's one of those things that as you go along and always repeat and so on, it seems like, okay, vibhasha is often summarized as meaning option. And yeah, okay, I can see na and va adding up to option, but it's not like 100% clear what that means. And so, in fact, there are a number of categories, 3 at least categories of vibhasha in the grammar, and there's a considerable conversation that can be had about what exactly nava means. Is it not va, or is it va na, or so on? So I will. I don't think we need to go into all that because, at least as far as I've seen, it doesn't really matter. I know that there are instances when it can be come into play, and if and when we get to them, and we will ideally when we get into the all of the verbs. But so that's how I'm going to leave it. Naveti vipasha. That's it, and we will now move on to the next.